Hey, good morning, it's Jamie. I'm wearing sunglasses, not because I'm cool, because I'm not cool. It's just the sun is in my face here. So as I do this video this morning, what I'm talking about is Turo and private rental stuff. I'm not going to become a Turo channel or anything like that, but I do want to touch on this kind of stuff because just like if you're an Uber person, which, hey, if I had time and I thought it was worth it for me, I would probably do that too, because it's just another side hustle for people to generate some extra money with something they already have. Now, cars are very easy for me to obtain, to get, to work into the mix. You know, real estate is something I strongly believe in. I think you can kind of pair up the cars with rentals in some cases, depending on the type of rental you're doing. For example, there was a property in East Boston that we're pursuing. It's kind of shaky because the expectations of the seller, they want to stay there for a predetermined amount of time, which kind of doesn't work. But anyway, whether it's that one or something similar, very close to the airport, which is very appealing to us because of people that come in, right? Guests, tourists, business people, traveling nurses, you know, different things where they can come in and pick up a car, which would be one thing, because cars are hard to obtain. And if you're going through Hertz or Enterprise, it's usually an hour or two process to get the car, versus you could just grab an Uber or go to the house and pick up one of the cars there. So in addition to just the Turo stuff that I've been hearing about, I mean, some good stuff, some bad, where people can just take a car and rent it out in the platform. Now, what I've found out over these past few weeks is I'm a momentum person. Like, I take action, right? And I figure when you take action, things happen, and some of the stuff you're going to figure out along the way. I don't think that you should jump in sometimes presumptuously and make a mistake and say, oh, I should have, you know, thought that through a little bit better. I always think that's a good idea to have a plan. You can also get frozen with fear, with taking action. You don't actually execute. You're always like overthinking stuff. Like, oh, I need to do this, and oh, what if this happens, and what happens if if this goes wrong? Maybe we should wait a little bit, and the timing might not be right. And what about, there's all these different excuses why you don't take action. And nothing's going to happen unless you take action sometimes, guys. So it's like going to the gym. Like, I don't have a massive outline workout routine, a personal trainer. I'm going there to just get some exercise, to get some momentum going, because I figure it's better than not going to go. So with the business, we formed an LLC in Massachusetts. We also did one in New Hampshire. Oh, sorry, still too bright. For different reasons. One, insurance purposes. Two, the taxes on the cars. So I don't want to get into the New Hampshire one this time, but if you're in Massachusetts, if you happen to stumble across here, if you're one of my kids and you want to, I'd love to see Mason or Gavin maybe get into this, which, they're older. Mason is 21, he'll be 22 in October. Gavin will be 18 in January. So this is something that I think could work for them. I was talking to their mom yesterday about this, actually. But if you have a car and maybe you work from home, or you don't need it, or you have an extra car that's sitting around not really being utilized, you could throw it on one of these platforms like Turo or Hire Car or Get Around. Turo probably being the more popular one. People will rent it. They'll use their insurance, meaning the provider, the platform provider, in the events that something happens. So if something happens to the car, which I'm sure, it certainly could, the different plans, which again is a different topic of coverages, will choose the deductible and how much the platform will keep, profit-wise, saying that, hey, we got to cover this expense. Like, we want to make money too, and we want, if something happens, we want to make sure we have the money to cover the accident. So I've been debating what kind of cars to put up there with the guys, like, meaning, should we put newer cars with higher mileage? Should we put older cars with lower mileage? Like all these different things that come into play for cost to factoring it in. Now, there's some other guys that I know locally that are doing it. One of which has 3 cars, and he's making between $2,500 and $3,000 a month is what he's netting, which is pretty good. And Another buddy of mine is going to launch with 1 car with the intent of doing more. Now, we would like to go to 10 cars pretty fast. So we're probably going to start with 3 or 4 cars right off the gate. Oh, nice Porsche. Now, here is the thing that I've learned about insurance. In Massachusetts, it's nearly impossible to get insurance for a private rental, and if you are, just expect it to pay around $8,000 a year. Now, that is a huge cost to incur to your bottom line if you're paying $8,000 a year per car to have insurance. The reason why I wanted to do private rental is because I think it's a little bit more profitable and it's less constraining, meaning like right off the get-go, as I was starting to talk to people about us doing this, I was starting to get referrals because, again, I've been in the auto industry for 25 years. So people say, hey, man, I heard you're doing a car rental. I need a car for 2 weeks. You know, they're ready to give me money. And I'm like not even ready. So I was just like, wow, you know, this could be pretty lucrative. So, but I got to have the insurance in case something goes wrong. And I got to figure out that process, which is, you know, a rental agreement. And a rental agreement is great, but if should something happen, you want to make sure that the rental agreement is, you know, the person has insurance in place, and you know, there's a process that comes into play here. So I'm looking out for my crew here as we go into this. I'm getting everything in line now, and I'm probably starting with one of the hardest states in the U.S. to be honest, because of the insurance, and insurance is such a big factor into doing this. So I'm not expecting to become to generate millions of dollars from this. I mean, you never know, but the goal is just to generate a little extra income, rinse and repeat, and just add vehicles and do this in different states, and you know, not completely passive, but you know, basically just kind of get it self-sustaining, where you're like, okay, let's get a couple cars going, and if this works out well, and the entire process from start to finish, we can do this in Florida and Texas and New Hampshire. So in Massachusetts, what I have found is companies like Lula, GMI, ABI, or you know, the different recommendations I heard do not cover Massachusetts for private rental, and they don't even do Turo, you know, for off rental insurance. So that was really disappointing because their rates were somewhere between $80 and $100 per car, which was a lot more affordable than $700 to $800 a car, right? And the thing is when they're not off rental, if you can do private rental, they don't even offer that, is what I found initially. I did find out that Lula has not been great. I gotta tell you, I'm not impressed with Lula's customer service at all. From the people I've spoken to, they don't get back to you. They're very dismissive. It seems like if you're not already up and running for you to plug in, they just aren't interested in talking to you. So far, I'm not really motivated as we grow and scale to really do business with them, you know. But what they did tell me, what I was able to get out of the person I spoke to maybe the third time, was, okay, we do insurance, and we do insurance in Massachusetts, but you gotta have 5 cars registered to the business right out the gate. Now, I don't have 5 cars registered to the business. I don't want to start off that way, so that doesn't work. I did find a company after some phone calls, hours of phone calls of talking to different people, one of which was a private car rental company in Massachusetts with an 85 car fleet, who told me he uses a company called Lancer. I called Lancer. To make a long story short, they said, we don't do new businesses. Sorry, you're not established, and I think it was either 2 years or 3 years. Then unfortunately, we can't help you. But they did give me a lead and point me in the right direction to a company that does. It was called, I believe, AARC. Now, it could be ARRC, but I think it's AARC. And basically what they offer is for new companies. I mean, granted, they underwrite you. They have to, you know, check some stuff and say, hey, we need this, this, and that in order to qualify you for the insurance. So you have to have a business address if you want private insurance. You can't use your home address. So if you're a Turo person, for example, if you're a Turo person, it doesn't matter, right? You can just use your home address You don't have to, you're not putting in the business, you're just putting your car up there on their platform. But if you want to be a private rental company as well, or specifically, then this company says you need to have 3 cars registered to the business, and you have to have a business address, which we do, right? So we have a business address. I have 3 cars I can register to the business right out the gate. So I was just like, should I do that? Should I do that? And I think the answer for us is yes, because we're based in Massachusetts, and we are going to do business in Massachusetts because of Logan Airport specifically and the people that are coming out. So I have to do this. We have to do this. We can't just work through the loopholes of New Hampshire, which we will. We are going to use them. I think it's worth it in some cases. But that's a whole nother 20-minute conversation that I don't want to get into right now. But for now, this is what I've found out is you cannot just give up and say, it doesn't work, it's too much money, or there's no way. I mean, if you want, sometimes you can, if you want to pursue something, aggressively, ask questions, not be afraid of rejection and being embarrassed and being hung up on, or putting the work in, taking notes, right? Just paying attention to the details. Okay, this isn't going to work. This company doesn't do anything. This company might be a potential future, like for example, if I went with Lula in Massachusetts, they said I have to have 5 cars, and their price range was between $179 and I think it was like $240. Well, this other company that says you only need 3 cars, they do also offer insurance for Turo, like meaning off rental insurance. They're about the same, basically the same. And the cars can be 15 years or newer, right? Where if you're just going on Turo specifically, the cars have to be 12 years or newer. Okay, so that's something to think about, because if you're like, hey, I'm going to have some of these cars that are 15 years old or 14 or 13, then that's okay. If they're in good working condition and you want to rent those out, you can do that. So the reason, as I don't want to keep this too long, the reason why I think private rental is a good option is I know a lot of body shops, I know a lot of dealerships, for example, that run out of cars to rent out to people and say, we have no cars. And what do they have to do? They have to call Enterprise or Hertz and ask them if they have a car for their customer to rent out, because they're like, hey, I need a car to use for my customer. So there's business there. In addition to this, people coming in and visiting, tourism, business people needing a car, there's also lots of situations where people are displaced because their car is in service or in a body shop being repaired. So there's lots of needs for transportation, and regardless if we go into a recession or whatever is going to happen, keep in mind that people still are going to eat like I'm doing right now, having my breakfast as I drive in, and they're going to need a place to stay, all right, and they're going to need transportation, in addition to clothing. And so there's some essential things. If it's affordable and available, I think these businesses will thrive and get along. Now, I'll close out with saying where I know I was listening to some people that say, for example, a real estate guy is like, man, I'm starving, right? Like, I'm struggling right now because business is drying up. It's not what it was a year ago, even 6 months ago. And they're finding it harder and harder. Now, some of these properties I'm even looking at where I want to buy, we want to buy stuff, but we're like, I don't know, man, it's just sitting there. Like, nobody else is really killing, like, going out of their way to buy these properties either. And I think they're going to come down. I might miss some, but I mean, some of these are sitting up there for 60 days, 90 days, or longer, whereas before they would sell within a few days, right? Within a week. And now they're not. And that's what I'm noticing here. Now, I'm not into real estate like for a living. To me, it's more of us building a portfolio long term. But the Turo stuff, the private rental stuff, you don't have to have a 100-car fleet, right? Like, you could have 1 car, you could have 5, and you can generate a little bit of extra money for your household And this is something that we're doing, right? Like, this is just something that we're doing, and we think it could be a sustainable business because of our background and some of the resources available to us. And that's why I'm documenting this here, in addition to plugging into all the other little things that I talk about here. Not because, again, I want to become a rental car channel and an expert. But, you know, I think everything is for your own kind of taste, where you could say, let me try this, I don't like this, or let me try this, and hey, this is pretty good, and it's making a little money, and it's not hard to sustain, and you just keep it as a plate spin and say, hey, this gives me an extra $500, $5,000, $1,000 a month, in addition to all the other revenue streams that I do. That's what I got this morning. I'm here at the job. What's up, big guy? Nice balloons. I'll see you guys next video, and I hope you have a great weekend. See ya.